Conduct a demo lecture using grammar teaching method. Methods of teaching grammar: diagramming sentences, learning through writing, inductive teaching, deductive teaching, interactive teaching, functional notational approach, situational context, using text stories, songs, and rhymes, PPP. Diagramming a sentence is a great exercise to gain a deeper understanding of its grammatical structure. A sentence diagram is a visual representation of a sentence's structure and each word's functions. When doing this exercise, you put each word in its perfective place within the diagram, which uses lines to represent which words relate to each other and how, with practice, this skill of breaking down and diagramming a sentence will not only help you understand the underlying principles of sentence structure but also help keep your writing mistake-free. Although sentence diagramming is not a necessary part of language learning, it is for practicing and understanding grammar and syntax, especially for visual learners. Below explain how to diagram a sentence, including some sentence diagram examples so you can see for yourself. Components of sentences: subject, who or what the sentence is about, the noun doing the action. Predicate, verb or action being done. Direct object, something or someone the action is done to. Indirect object, the person or thing the action is done to or for. Prepositions, relationship words that provide information about how the other parts of the sentence fit together. Modifiers, words that provide additional detail about the subject, action, or object in the sentence. Articles, words that modify nouns. Predicate, verb or action being done. Conjunctions, words that connect other words together. How to diagram a sentence: horizontal line, vertical line, diagonal line, and dotted vertical line. The baseline. The baseline is the top line of your diagram. It highlights the fundamental pieces of the sentence, the subject, verb, and object. Draw a baseline, the top line of your diagram separated by a short vertical line. Write the subject on the left side and the verb on the right side. If there is an object, add it after the verb with a diagonal line. Below the baseline. Each of the other components of the sentence belongs below the baseline of the sentence. According to specific sentence diagramming rules, these parts include modifiers, prepositions, indirect objects, subordinate clauses, articles, interjections, and so on. Write modifiers and prepositions on diagonal lines, extending from the word they modify under the baseline. The object of the preposition goes on a horizontal line under the preposition. If there is an indirect object, write it on a horizontal line under the verb and connect it with a diagonal line. Add articles on diagonal lines under the nouns they modify. Complex sentence additions. If your complex sentence has a subordinate clause as well as an independent clause, you'll need to diagram it as well. Subordinate clauses are treated like modifiers joined by conjunctions in sentence diagrams. Write the subordinating conjunction on a diagonal dotted line under the word it modifies. Draw a horizontal line under the dotted line. Add the noun, verb, and object on the horizontal line separated by vertical lines. Draw solid diagonal lines under any words that have modifiers and add the modifiers to their words. Compound sentence additions. Compound sentences are made of two or more independent clauses. Each independent clause gets its own separate diagram, with its own separate baseline for its subject and verb. Create a new baseline under the first diagrammed clause. Start from the beginning. Add the second clauses subject, verb, object, and other parts. When you diagram all clauses, join the clauses with the dotted lines. Write the coordinating conjunction on a horizontal line next to the dotted line. Purpose of diagramming sentences. Purpose of diagramming sentences. There are a number of different reasons diagramming sentences can be useful, all of which are related to developing a deeper understanding of English grammar. Diagramming sentences can help you to learn and identify the parts of speech, understand how the parts of speech function together to create compound sentences, explore methods of joining subjects, verbs, and objects, understand complex grammatical tools used to make compound sentences, including prepositional phrases, verbal nouns, modifiers, and compound subjects. Here is the example of diagramming sentences. Learning through writing. Writing to encourage active thinking and learning. Critical thinking problems are designed to convert students from passive to active learners who use course concepts to confront problems, gather and analyze data, prepare hypotheses, and formulate arguments. Most writing activities aim to promote the use of active critical thinking strategies on the part of students. To best obtain this goal, try assigning short, focused problems that require true and innovative approaches to course material. When designing these activities, you might find it useful to use terms like formulate, develop, depend, appraise, criticize, judge, argue, determine, and evaluate. Writing to explore. The main goals for exploratory writing exercises are to clarify thinking, explore ideas, ask questions, reflect on learning, and search for connections between theory and practice. These exercises are not meant to refine and polish writing skills. Rather, exploratory writing exercises value process over product, make clear to students that issues of writing style and structure are secondary in these activities, while evidence of in-depth and thoughtful engagement with course material is highly valued. When designing these activities, use terms like discuss, explore, imagine, propose, consider, contemplate, respond, and reflect. Writing to explain. These activities encourage critical thinking while, at the same time, they promote a true understanding of concepts through review and analysis. Exercises like this ask students to take on the role of instructor, making them search for ways to present course concepts so that they are clear and accessible. Not only does writing exercises make students aware of context and audience concerns, they also require students to step outside the course material in order to see it more objectively. Fresh ideas and deeper understanding often result from such distancing techniques. When designing these exercises, use terms like list, select, describe, define, tell, express, explain, reveal, summarize, and identify. Inductive teaching method. Inductive teaching and learning is an umbrella term that encompasses a range of instructional methods, including inquiry learning, problem-based learning, project-based learning, case-based teaching, discovery learning, and just-in-time teaching. Deductive teaching. Deductive teaching is a traditional approach in which information about target language and rules are driven at the beginning of the class and continued with examples. The principles of this approach are generally used in the classes where the main target is to teach grammar structures. Interactive teaching. Interactive teaching is a means of instructing whereby the teachers actively involve the students in their learning process by the way of regular teacher-student interaction, student interaction, use of audiovisuals, and hands-on demonstrations. The students are constantly encouraged to be active participants. Understanding and meaning are emphasized as opposed to mere rote memorization. This facilitates an environment fostering long-term memory. Functional notational approach. The term functional notational approach embraces any strategy of language teaching that derives the content of learning from an initial analysis of the learner's need to express three different kinds of meaning. Functional, or the social purpose of the utterance, model the degree of likelihood. Conceptual, the meaning relations expressed by forms within the sentence, categories of communicative functions. This method of language teaching is categorized along with others under the rubric of a communicative approach. The method stresses a means of organizing a language syllabus. The emphasis is on breaking down the global concept of language into units of analysis in terms of communicative situations in which they are used. Situational context. A situational context permits presentations of a wide range of language items. The situation serves as a means of helps clarify its meaning. At the same time, the generated examples provide the learners with data for induction of the rules of form. Teaching grammar through songs and rhymes. Songs. Since the meaning is an important device in teaching grammar, it is important to contextualize any grammar point. Songs are one of the most enchanting and culturally rich resources that can easily be used in language classrooms. Activities. They are precious resources to develop students' abilities in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. They can also be used to teach a variety of language items such as sentence patterns, vocabulary, pronunciation, rhythm, adjectives, and adverbs. Learning English through songs also provides a non-threatening atmosphere for students who usually are tense when speaking English in a formal classroom setting. Poems. Poems, like songs, contextualize a grammar lesson effectively. Since poetry is often spoken, repeated, dealt with, and considered, it acts as an effective tool for practicing a specific grammatical structures become more deeply internalized. Thus, poetry not only provides a rewarding resource for structured practice of grammar, but also a proper basis for review. If a poem that exemplifies a particular structure is also a good poem, it engages the eye, the ear, and the tongue simultaneously while also stimulating and moving us. This polymorphic effect makes poetry easier to memorize than other things for many students. PPP, or Presentation Practice Production. A deductive approach often fits into a lesson structure known as PPP. The teacher presents the target language and then gives students the opportunity to practice it through by controlled activities. Advantages and disadvantages of the PPP language teaching approach. The PPP method is easy to adopt and is good for new language teachers. The approach is widely applicable and can be used very flexible. It's easy to plan a lesson around and has a clear logical structure for students and educators to follow.